UFC Vegas 108. A lot has shaken up since the last time I hopped on the mic. I polished up a video for you guys, got it out nice and early so you guys can attack the odds. And of course, we have a change in the main event. Tatsuro Taira no longer taking on Amir Albazi. In steps Hyun Sung Park. I have a lot to say about the new matchup. I really have some bold thoughts on the change in opponents, so stick with me. We're going to break that fight down. We'll talk about the betting odds and all that. Besides that, we also lose Azamet Bakoyev and Yusri Belgari. That was a fight I was really looking forward to. I thought that was an underrated match there, so a little unfortunate. But we do get a newly added bout to the card in the youngster Bashi, who will now be taking on John Yannis, who is a Fury veteran and a fighter that comes in to make his UFC debut on a 3-fight winning streak, all 3 of them coming by way of finish. So I will quickly dissect that fight and the opening odds that we're seeing there. Besides just breaking down these 2 newly added bouts to the card, I'm going to throw out some prop bets towards your guys' way. We'll probably even do the long shot parlay to end this thing. We're already locked in. Luckily, the changes of fights throughout this card have not impacted my official plays. We have 4 official plays locked in for the event. I really like this one going into it. I'm just going to say that. All right, I haven't said that in a long time. Okay, guys. Sometimes that plays out well. Sometimes it turns around and bites you. But this is one where I really like our spots. If you want to work with me, you guys know you can email me or shoot me a DM on Instagram. I'll give you further information there. I feel confident we'll be cashing. If you guys can all smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, we're going to jump right into this thing.
The teller.
So what a massive move this is for Park, as he's now involved in a main event inside the UFC, taking on the number 6th ranked Tatsuro Taira. Taira may only be 25 years old, but we know that this is a young fighter that has been on the fast track, okay? He was a couple chess moves away from fighting for the belt. He's currently ranked 6th. This is such a massive opportunity for Park. Of course, if he gets a win, he's going to be ranked. But I just think that it's most important that he shows up and makes this a competitive fight. And I still think that he'll be put on the map. It's important to note that Park was already training for a fight with Steve Erceg that was supposed to take place August 9th. All right, so he's been preparing to fight. And we've noticed that the UFC has been really good with that as of recently. When they're taking in these short notice fighters, it's like they're mapping everything out. These fighters they're like backups that are already planning for a fight around that date. So that's a good thing going into this matchup here. Side note, Steve Erceg will now be taking on Ode Osborne. He gets a new opponent as well. And, the first thing that stood out to me with this matchup, before we even get to the betting odds specifically, is that Park is going to be a bigger underdog than Amir Albazi was. And, that I'm kind of interested in that, because I understand why that's the case based off the fact that Albazi is a little bit more proven, right? He's had bigger fights and he's been in the UFC a little bit longer. I think stylistically, Park brings in a greater threat to Taira than Albazi did. And that, of course, being the striking that Park possesses. I've liked what I've seen from him. I think he's dangerous. Taira, if you could say one bad thing that we've seen from him, it's his striking defense. Okay, his head stays in the center line. He needs to have better head movement. He's been touched up a bit. And that could be a problem because Park may be able to hurt him in this fight. Now, you could also say, well, Albazi was going to potentially be able to go in there and replicate a lot of what Brandon Royval did late in that fight using his grappling. It came down to the 5th round in that last fight for Taira, and he kind of blew it in those grappling exchanges. But I wasn't as worried about Albazi's grappling. Taira is phenomenal there, and I think that was a better stylistic matchup for him. So it's kind of interesting that Park is the bigger underdog here, although I understand why it's the case, okay? Park needs to prove more. Now, to Park's grappling, he's shown quite a bit early on to us as well. You take a look at that last fight against Carlos Hernandez. He went in there, landed big strikes early on, then he sunk in the rear naked choke. The way that he quickly maneuvered to the back was impressive. So this is a fighter that potentially has very high-level grappling and can hang with Taira there as well. Now, all in all, I'm going to say that Taira gets the better of those grappling exchanges. If this fight has a lot of that going on, I think that should favor Taira for sure. And if we see a finish, I'm going to say that it's Taira most likely getting a rear naked choke or doing something wild, taking it back. Because, although I liked what I've seen from Park, Taira has impressed me with his grappling almost more than anybody that I've seen in a long time. I believe that Taira will have the best grappling in this division in the next 2 to 3 years as he physically matures. Right now, you got to say Pantoja is the king of grappling in this division. But you guys let me know. I mean, who do you think is the most elite grappler in this division? Taira has just shown so many early flashes to me, and he's still a kid, right? He's been doing a lot of it when he's, 23, 24 years old or so. So, I mean, as he physically matures, forget about how he's going to impose his will on fighters. But you do see that both fighters have been balanced with their finishes, right? It's very even as far as their finishing with KOs and subs and sprinkling in a couple of decisions, although Park has been more of a fight finisher percentage-wise. Taira will have a 4-inch reach advantage, so we'll see if he could use that to his benefit as we hope to see his striking continue to develop. He has a nice little straight jab. He throws some solid straight strikes out there, but that needs to improve more so as well. But specifically coming back to his defense, right? He could land offensively, but he can't be caught up looking at his work and being countered. That's where he could run into trouble. But we'll see if he could pump the jab and land some nice straights while avoiding being countered there. And even though Park will be at a reach disadvantage, he's a very big fighter for this division. Okay, we saw him in there against Carlos Hernandez. He looked very big in there, and not necessarily long, but he's thick and he's physically strong. So keep an eye on that as well. You take a look at some of the numbers here. Park's been a little bit more active offensively, while Taira's only been absorbing 2.69 strikes per minute. But the reason why you see that number low is because for the most part, he's closing the distance using his grappling, or he's circling using proper footwork. But when he does close the distance and when he does trade, that's where he is landed on. Okay, but the reason why you're seeing a lower number there is because of those other tactics that he does well. It's just that when he's in range and he's going at it, that's where you see those flaws. So where am I going with my official prediction for this fight? You guys know I'm backing my boy Taira here. I like him. I think that his ceiling's very high. And the main thing that I like going into this bout is that he was just involved in a 25-minute war with a high-level fighter like Brandon Royval. Okay, so he's more proven. He's been to those championship rounds. Forget about Park not going to the championship rounds. He's in these bouts that are ending very early. He's going out there and consistently finishing fights early. There's potential he could finish this fight early, but if he doesn't, and I don't see it going that way, I think this goes 25 minutes. I think Taira starts to look really good in the latter rounds and takes this fight over. And again, just a little bit more octagon experience. He's been there with higher level fighters. You have to back Taira overall here. But as we get to the betting odds, I'll tell you what, guys, I'm not too confident in Taira with that minus 360 tag next to his name. I don't think there's a lot of value there. I think that the value's on the underdog. I have this fight capped a lot closer than Taira being a minus 360. I think that the reason why the line is like this is based off the fact that Park's a little bit more unknown. All right. Not a lot of people are paying attention to what he's doing. I mean, us hardcore fans, we know that he's shown some promise, but he's a little bit more unknown. He's kind of going under the radar. He's taking this fight on short notice. He's stepping in and he's matched up against Taira, who was already the headliner. His face has been all over the posters and people have been praising him for some time. And that's the reason why you're seeing a line like this, because it shouldn't be like this. I think that Taira potentially should be like a minus 220, 200. So, I mean, I think the line is significantly off. Right now, you can catch Park around a plus 280 dog, right? I mean, that's a lot of value in my opinion. I think that this fight is dangerous for Taira. We'll see how it plays out, but I say Taira digs deep and wins the decision. Now, quickly, before I start to toss some bets out to you guys, we'll break this one down real quick. Austin Bashi takes on John Yannis. A very funny name coming from my standpoint. Some of you guys know I'm a Greek American, and how you say John in Greek is Yannis. So this guy's John, and then I thought maybe he would have been Greek, but doesn't seem to be. I believe he's Mexican, and he's been having a good amount of success over in Fury as of recently. He's been going out there knocking dudes out. He's on a 3-fight winning streak, all coming by way of finish. And I was listening to a couple of recent interviews of Yannis's, and he's very confident. He oozes confidence. That's one thing that you gotta like, and you can see where the confidence is coming from, right? He even went to the championship rounds in his last fight where he knocked out UFC veteran Nick Aguirre in the fourth round there. So now, one thing that concerns me for sure is relatively recently, in his last loss, he was finished via rear naked choke by Gabriel Wanderlei, and Bashi is very good at taking your back and subbing you. So that concerns me there, because this dude Gabriel, I don't think that he's on the level of a Bashi. So, and that was recent. That could be a problem. He took a couple losses early on. I believe he took a split decision. Yep, against Cameron Smotherman, a fighter that's made it to the UFC there. And when you're looking at Yannis in the cage, he's just a scrappy dude. He's tough. He's gonna want to stuff takedowns and really let his hands go. I think that's exactly what he's gonna want to do here. But all in all, I'm gonna say that Bashi is gonna have success closing the distance. We know he is absolutely relentless with his pressure and his takedown attempts. And things didn't go well for him against Christian Rodriguez. C-Rod is a very high level fighter, and he's specifically very good at stuffing takedowns, or if he's taken down, working his way back up to his feet and making the opposition work. That's what he did to the youngster there. I don't believe that Yannis is going to be able to replicate that, and you could trust Bashi just to continuously march forward and close the distance. And I think that he will secure position, and I think that he gets a rear naked choke or something like that. I think that he finds a sub. You think about his performance on Dana White's Contender Series against Dorian Ramos, where he got that second round rear naked choke. He was relentless in that one. And I think that Dorian Ramos is probably a better fighter than what I'm seeing from John. So you can kind of compare that for what you will. And Ramos, since taking that loss, just went to a split decision with a fighter that I have a lot of respect for, Michael Aswell, right? He took a split decision L, but Ramos showing that he is tough. I do think that Bashi finds a submission in this fight. Right now, you take a look at the money line. Bashi is a minus 600. I know you guys can't see it over here on the side, but he opened up as a minus 260 on a couple books here, and there's been massive amount of action coming in on him, and it's kind of understandable, right? I mean, if you were grabbing him at minus 260, what a bargain that was there. And really, if you were grabbing him at minus 300, minus 400, I still think that was a great bargain, a great parlay piece. And at minus 600, this is looking like an accurate line to me. Okay, it is. And I understand, to play devil's advocate, the problem could be if Bashi doesn't have success with the grappling, that his striking is not that proven, and we could potentially see him touched up and he could lose the decision in that fashion. Or Yannis has shown that he has power and he could finish you. I understand that that's the other side of things here, that Yannis could show up and do some of that, but I just don't see it. I don't see it. I think that Bashi is going to look much improved from that last bout. You know he's going to be extremely motivated after taking that L. Closes the distance, he gets a sub. All right, guys, I'm going to throw a couple prop bets towards your guys' way. Keep in mind, I'm going to be throwing out some plus action. All right, don't expect to cash in on every single one of these. If we could hit a few and profit, that's what we're looking to do here. We're jumping over to the featherweight division, and what is one of my favorite fights of the event, Kevin Vallejos taking on Danny Silva. This should be a barn burner. Vallejos is an absolute fight finisher. He's shown so much with his striking, and Danny Silva is willing to engage. He's willing to brawl it out with you. This fight should be absolute fireworks. Danny Silva has shown to be durable. Okay, there's no question about that, but you have to understand that he's taken a lot of damage, and I don't know if he's going to be able to go to the distance with a fighter like Vallejos. I think that Vallejos is going to find the mark in this fight, and probably early on, right? You take a look at the last two performances, both KOs coming in the first round. We saw what he just did to Sang Woo Choi. That was nasty. In his redemption fight on DWCS against Cam Teague, he got the first round finish there. And I think that these fighters are going to clash, and it is very realistic that Vallejos knocks Danny Silva out. I know Silva got that big old pit bull head, but he gets touched so often. You think about how often Angel Pacheco was able to touch him up, and even as of recently, he's won some fights. He's put some money in our pockets. We backed him against Josh Cooleybow and all that, but he just went to a split decision against Lucas Almeida. I think that it's very realistic Vallejos finds the knockout. So let's take a look at some props that we could potentially target here. You take a look at the under 1.5 at plus 150. Of course, if Silva gets his own KO, you're still going to cash there. But let's take a look at this as well. How about fight to end in the first round at plus 200? Okay, you take a look at that, and maybe you're even getting better value on the fight to end in round 2, which maybe Silva pushes through, takes some damage, but the pace is still very high going into the second, and Vallejos isn't going to slow down. Maybe we see them really start to trade heavy, and then that's where Silva falls to the canvas. Maybe he doesn't get flatline KO because he's so tough, but we see a kind of like a TKO type stoppage where Vallejos is raining down some damage, and we see a stoppage there. So I want you to look at some of these. Okay, whichever one you feel comfortable with. I like that round 2. taking a look at the round one. But if you want to play it a little bit more safe, just look at the fight to end inside the distance, which is at minus 150, give or take. It's been bouncing around a little bit, but if you want to play it safer, you're looking at that there. And then we'll circle right back to the main event. We're talking Taira and Park once again. I already showed my hand a little bit, right? I showed my cards here as I have this fight going to the final bell, which isn't the favorite to happen, right? It's not, but I could potentially see Park proving to be a high-level fighter that avoids being subbed by Taira, even if he's controlled a bit. I think that he may be able to defend, make it to the final bell. He was training for a fight date, so he's going to be in shape. It's not like he's just going to gas out in the later rounds, even though he hasn't been there. I think that he's probably the type of fighter that proves to be very professional and in shape and looks good even in the later rounds, or at the very least can avoid being subbed. If we see Park start to have success with his grappling and some back and forth exchanges, I don't think that he's going to be high level enough to finish Taira. Taira has never been finished. In fact, both of these fighters have never been finished. And even though they've been finishers, I think that this is the type of fight where it could be entertaining and it could still make it to that final bell as long as they're sharp enough to avoid, that fight ending sequence. I mean, if we do see a finish, it's probably most likely going to be by Taira getting that arm under the chin and sinking something in or pulling off a variety of subs. He's nasty everywhere, maybe an armbar or something like that. Or we see Park crack him and get some kind of knockout or TKO. But I'm going to say that doesn't happen. And let's take a look at what we can target in that type of scenario. You take a look at an over 1.5. That's a high line though, minus 275. But I think that's relatively safe or very safe. You take a look at the over 2.5 at minus 145. Maybe you're looking at that as you see it open up around minus 125. We're seeing action coming in on that. And or what you could do is you look at this fight to go the distance. If you're looking for some plus action, you can catch that right around plus 155. And I think that's some solid plus action. It's a 5-round fight, and Park will have to prove a lot to us to go to those championship rounds, but I think that he could do it. And I see this fight going to a decision. Take a look at the plus action you can get there. Let's mix up a parlay together. Now, I know typically we've been putting these big long shot parlays that are up in the plus 1,000s, and those are hard to hit. And I don't recommend that you guys are consistently betting those kind of slips, and especially putting up big money behind them. It's not my style, and statistically your back's up against the wall. Maybe what we'll start to do is throw out some parlays that are a little bit more realistic and that we can cash in on, but still bring back some solid value. So let's see what we got here today. Again, these are not necessarily my official plays, so understand that. I mean, we're having some fun here. If you guys want my official targets, remember, reach out to me. I'll give you further information, but we're going to mix something up here. We're going to cook something up. And first thing we're going to do is we're going to throw Esteban Ribovics up in the mix at minus 275. I think that's a relatively safe leg. You may say that's not a great amount of value on him, but I think that is a fight where he'll come through for us. Let's throw Rebecki up in the mix. That will take us to minus 107. We got to throw Vallejos, the stud Vallejos. Let's throw Rodolfo Vieira up in here, which you still should be able to catch somewhere around a minus 200. I like that there. And we're currently sitting at plus 262. And you know what? We'll throw in one more leg on Rafael Estevam, which will take us to a plus 335. We got a 5-leg parlay. Let's cash in on this one. And meet me in the comments section after we cash in on this one, boys. All right, guys, that's going to wrap this episode up. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate you greatly. Please smash that like button before you depart. If you're new here or if you haven't yet, smash that subscribe button. I hope you guys all have a great week. I hope you guys cash in for UFC Vegas 108. I'm very excited. We have some big events coming up on the horizon, right? DDP will be taking on Khamzat Chimaev in just a couple weeks. All right, we have one more Vegas card after this one, and then we're talking the big fish there. So I'm excited for that. And you guys, I appreciate you locking in with me. Signing out. Teller.
The Teller.